Four Prime Archetypes, Why We Do What We Do, written by Aaron Huey and Martina Kodrin. Now available on Amazon and Kindle and coming soon to audiobook.
The bad assumption around cultural archetypes comes from the idea that you and I were just talking about off camera, that somehow we are assuming that nobody in their right mind or logical mind would think their way through a limiting belief. But sociology and human nature dictates that anybody who is indoctrinated essentially possesses an algorithm to their life that reinforces the archetypal stereotype, the social stereotype of who they are being. Whether you raise your child to be a football player and you've dressed them up in sports jerseys and you have the kid watch football with you and you're analyzing the game with your 4-year-old and they're running around the living room throwing and playing catch and celebrating when you celebrate. And how is that different, not heart-wise or loving-wise, than any of the other cultural, subcultural stereotypes raising their children in a way that we are disgusted by? Watching a 2-year-old put on a Nazi uniform and march in a parade. How they see that as logical as a 2-year-old marching in a pride parade. And one being about acceptance and one being about limiting acceptance of certain kinds of people, that's the cultural divide. That they look at each other and say, how could you? But they have both thought their way through that belief system with whatever belief system they have been brought up in or have expanded into. Because whether you are brought up in a religious environment, in a political environment, if your household is always declaring that this is our political party, come hell or high water, and you will never, you are creating an algorithm that acts in the same manner that going on the internet does. You are only going to be shown what you already have told the algorithm that you want to see.
That is perfect. I love that comparison with the algorithm because, like, on social media, unless you go and actually search for certain things or hashtags or creators or stuff like that, you are going to be shown more of the stuff that you react to or post, right? And it's exactly the same as in like a family environment. Unless you consciously start to look at this belief, that belief, and just switch or change whatever doesn't resonate with you anymore. And actually, one of the most beautiful things I've been seeing lately on TikTok is more and more people that I wouldn't expect to be embracing certain beliefs are starting to embrace certain beliefs.
Somehow you have dictated to your TikTok algorithm that that's what you want to see. And that's the level of consciousness that we have to employ with our own way of being. We are going to be reinforced in our archetype that helps us survive our social construct until such time we actively and consciously change what we look at. Because here's the truth. You can change your YouTube algorithm, your Facebook algorithm, your TikTok algorithm in a 20-minute time frame. I have practiced this. I have talks about changing your algorithm online. If you literally go through your Facebook feed and purposefully like something that you want to see more of, you will be shown more of it. And you can change your social online environment. You were saying earlier, Martina, the internet is supposed to expand our consciousness by showing us it's the sum total of human knowledge at our desk. We have the Library of Alexandria in our hands, in our pockets, on our desks, and in our bed. And we are spending our lives in one aisle of books and saying, this is so much information.
Reinforcing. Yeah.
Yes, reinforcing, because this subject is what we focus on. But there are billions of subjects, but you have to actively go to another aisle to see it. And that means not just I need to change what I'm looking at on Facebook. It means you might actually have to reject the paradigm that you were brought up in, and doing that creates the fear of death that every archetype struggles with. There is only one archetype that's willing to face it: the warrior. The warrior archetype says, I'm not afraid of that, because what I have the ability to learn is more about who I am than what I've already been taught.
We actually talk about the destruction to construction concept of the warrior, right?
Right.
So they actually destroy because they know that from that destruction, from the rubble, something new can arise.
Yeah. My son, as a wizard, has taught me that wizards are willing to look at the whole library. That's that they have a willingness to never spend too much time in one aisle. They want to see everything. Wizards have a very expanded concept of thought. They might be pulled into a singular focus for a time being and master that focus, and it may be a culturally or socially damaging focus. That is true. There are wizards in every... This is the thing. As we're talking about cultural archetypes, the reason why cultural archetypes will ultimately fail is because every culture possesses the four prime: warriors, wizards, jesters, and bards. And the only way they can survive as a culture of an archetype is to actively try to suppress one of the archetypes. And it's often the bard. That's the hard part. It's often the bard or the wizard archetype, or that wizard archetype
art
is
or the literature.
Art or the literature
Knowledge.
and the research and the science and the knowledge. And then we'll say, well, we're a warrior. We're a warrior culture. We're a warrior culture. We're so tough and everybody should be afraid of us, and we can handle pain, and we throw our babies into frozen water and they learn how to swim and sleep outside and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden they're exposed through social media of who they really are. How we saw Russia prior to the Ukrainian war is much different than the world is looking at that now. Now we have to ask the question, is that because of the algorithm? Are we seeing only what we subconsciously are wanting to see? Or are we being shown the truth? You know who's going to help me find that? A wizard. A wizard is going to be the one saying, well, you're only looking at, this website, this website. These 15 websites are all specifically created as political. And that in itself is a limiting belief. So you have to expand into other places that we are afraid to go because we might be shown something different than what we were raised to see. Remember, right at the beginning of the book, stop looking at what you're seeing. Start looking at what you're being shown. What Martina and I have been trying to show you with this book is you are a complete artist, a complete knight of your own values. You are brilliant and you are expressive. Go be it. You are wise, you are talented, you are athletic, and you are free. Go be it. Now, if you live in a cultural archetype that actively is trying to suppress one of those archetypes, then your warrior has to decide whether or not you're going to be it in secret and be willing to live under the threat of punishment and death to be who you truly are. That's up to you. That's not something that we're saying you should, because you may not be allowed to. But that too is a cultural archetype. They're not sustainable.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's something similar to how maybe 50 years ago there were no gay people, and now it's just normalized. It's not like there's more and more and more of them.
Right, and some cultural
That's
archetypes.
why it's so silly how, there's this transphobia now so present, because it's just a matter of time before it goes on the same path, right?
When we hear certain cultural archetypes say now they're everywhere and we're being indoctrinated to become them.
The gay agenda.
The gay agenda, right? The numbers don't match that. There's not, you got to go to the wizards to actually see what's going on. We're still talking about a very small percentage of the population that are not living in secret anymore. That's all that's changed.
Thankfully, finally they get to express who they are. I wish everyone could.
Yes, thankfully, unless your cultural archetype has a forbidden, a value of forbidden that says you cannot, you must not. Being that color, that gender, that orientation is an affront to a value system of a dogma, of a belief system, right? That everybody has been raised at. It takes time. I'm not vilifying one and trying to amplify another. What I'm telling you is that we will achieve balance.
Yeah.
Because despite our best efforts, we remain imbalanced archetypally. Despite what we think when we watch the news. First of all, when people are like, I don't watch the news. I do. Do I believe everything I see? I remember, and I wish I remember who told me this, believe half of what you read and none of what you see. Or no, half of what you see and none of what you read. That is the state of the internet. So when I see the news, my goal is to remain absolutely conscious that I have an algorithm. That's the key to this. To assume that anything that we are being seen, that we are being shown, that we are being told that we must believe is true. Nowadays, when anybody can create the news,
exactly,
we have to remain conscious that the algorithm is a part of life, and we are living under an archetypal experience that says every time I look for something, I'm reinforcing what I've already seen until such time I step out of my own personality. How difficult is that? That's not easy. You and I don't do that. And we wrote the freaking book on it. It's like at some point, the work is so difficult that we will either embrace it and it changes everything about our lives, or we will go back to the comfort zone. And that's easy. It's not, are we bad for doing it? Only if you're reinforcing violence, but nobody believes they're the bad guy, right? Everybody thinks someone else is the problem. That's a safety mechanism. That's not real. We're all part of the problem. We're all part of the solution. We will meet in the middle. So mote it be, may we meet in the middle. Because that's where the truth really is, at this center point of consciousness and balance of who we are and who other people are, and everybody doing this very purposefully. Would you be a Nazi on purpose? How could you not? How could you? Which one is it? It's probably a balance of both.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... I mean, we could go on and on, right? Because archetypes are universal.
Yes.
So we could just keep going.
To say that I just glanced out the window in my ADHD, and it suddenly dawned on me that the shape of that window is an archetype. Why are windows square? Maybe it started with the simplicity of building, but it is still a symbol. Are there round windows? Are there windows of different shapes? Yeah, but what are we most comfortable with?
Exactly.
And this might be out of necessity. This might be out of need. This might be out of comfort and ease, but it is still an archetype. There are still layers of what this means. And how is anything different? How is your car not an archetype, a symbol, whether it's a status symbol or the warrior gets a car as a tool. The bard gets a car as an expression. The wizard gets a car of perfection. The jester has a car. Gets a car.
The jester is at the right time, at the right spot at the right time.
Yeah, it's a free. Is it my aunt's car? And she sold it me for $1. And yeah, it doesn't have a back window, but the plastic's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not life. It's a car. It's just a thing. That's so funny. Right? That in and of itself is a symbol. What isn't a symbol of something else? Why is that recycling bin blue? Right? Why is that? That's becoming a universal color symbolism archetype. Somebody created the symbol of the happy face, the yellow happy face, right? I love New York, the I heart New York. When that came out, it's an archetypal symbol that's now been reinforced. Heart means love.
Yeah.
Why? When? Where? Who? Who said? Wait a minute. Go all the way back. Who said that that's what this is? And what if we did that with our own lives? Who said that this is who I am? Me? My parents? My great-great-great-great-grandfather who was killed by a snake? And that fear has been passed on for generations after generations? Who said? Yeah. Who said black people were this and white people were that? Who said? And why do we believe it? Why did we embrace the symbol of this behavior as a truth? That's the question we've got to ask. And it's just consciousness. Maybe at the end, your answer ultimately agrees with the archetype. Maybe it doesn't. By God, it's the process.
But at least you know it's yours. It's your own. It's your conscious answer.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. It's yours. And it's your truth. And it's your conscious truth, not an accidental dogma passed on because of an algorithm. Like, that's not life.
It's like the joke with the when they're preparing food and they always I think they were preparing like a big ham thingy, and the mother would always cut the sides, right? So one day the husband asks, "So why do you do that? Why do you cut the sides?" And she goes, "I don't know. My mother always did it. So let's go ask her." So they visit the mom. And they ask, "So why do you cut the sides from the meatloaf?" Like, And she goes, "I don't know. Grandma always did it that way." And they ask the grandma, and grandma goes, "'Cause my pan wasn't big enough." So
it's brilliant. That's wonderful. Yeah.
That's exactly how it is, right? Maybe it was a legitimate reason back then, but if you have a bigger pan right now, why do you waste food?
Right. I love that.
So, exactly.
Why are you afraid of the dark? Why are you afraid of spiders? Why are you afraid of clowns? Who decided that? Really? Was it you? I get it. Oh, I don't like clowns. Okay. Why? Who taught you that? Who taught you that you were not good enough at singing? Somebody said something, you heard your own voice, you didn't like it. Why don't you like your own voice? Why don't you like the sound? Who taught you that your own voice was something that you shouldn't like, couldn't like? Is that just because lots of people said it? I'm afraid of public speaking. Why? Who taught you that? Well, it's just something that comes up. Really? Or it's something that you heard and said, I feel that way too. What? Did you take it on? Is this epigenetics? Is your DNA literally changed and programmed to react this way because great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma got booed off stage? I've been booed off stage. And I've been standing ovation on stage. Which do I choose and why? Right? Am I on stage because my biological father never called me, not once, or sent an email or said hello? I never met him. Is that why I love being on stage? Or do I love being on stage because, why? This is the journey inward. This archetypal journey allows us to have a comfortable path inwards of why we do the things we do. Start with 4 basic concepts. There are 4 personalities. You are one of them comfortably the most. Mm-hmm. And you've done it accidentally. Now, first, do it on purpose. And then start doing the others on purpose. And see.
We actually talk about both of these things that you just now mentioned in the book, which is, what's nature versus what's nurture.
Right.
And then how do you evolve the eclipsed archetypes? So
how do you practice?
when you read the book, you actually get suggestions on what to do if you want to practice being another archetype.
And it's uncomfortable, but so is practicing yoga for the first time. So is going to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class or an acrobatic class. You're not going to walk into an acrobat class or a yoga class and suddenly be holding your forehead to your knees for 3 minutes while chanting. Like, that doesn't happen. You got to work up to it. That
Exactly.
Their therapeutic practice isn't walking into a therapist one time and talking about all your trauma from childhood. It's not how it happens. That's what you're afraid is going to happen, which is why you avoid it, because our brain is designed to avoid pain. Part of the pain process of really embracing your personality, purpose, mission, vision, and passion is thinking that if you are anything but other than who you truly are designed to be, that you will somehow be punished. You will be kicked out of your family. You'll be kicked out of your church. You will be kicked out of your school. You'll be kicked out of life. And it's just simply true or not true, but it is only a fear. And the fear of the thing may be bigger than the thing, and the fear of the thing may be actually the thing. You might be kicked out or punished in your country or your religion if you embrace one of those archetypes, right? Are you truly allowed to be a free spirit and create your own relationship with divinity? Can you be a completely expressive, artistic, edge-pushing, yogic, evolutionary performer? Can you really find that cause, start that business, raise that family, do that thing based on who you truly are? Do you have to follow the code? And what is the code? Is it DNA or is it just design of life, of who told you things should be a certain way? And if they're not, is it really any skin off your back? It might be. Like we have to acknowledge, Martina, that
Absolutely.
it might be punished. You might get punished for being who you truly are. And your jester doesn't give a shit. Your warrior is willing to fight for it. Your wizard might find the loophole, and your bard may not just be able to keep quiet and sit on their hands, and they may stand up and say it anyway. I have met people who have been banned from their countries because of their political outspokenness. And the people who love them believe that if they were to go back, they could start a revolution. These people are inspiring to be around, but there's something keeping them from going back. It might be a firing squad. It might be an emotional firing squad. It might be an actual one. It's a firing squad nonetheless. We have to acknowledge that. We hear news stories of people deciding that the religion that they have been raised in is not okay for them. And by stepping out of that, they are banished from their family, banished and banned for life. That is traumatic torture. So then what? Oh, you should just be yourself. That's an expectation. What we're saying is, okay, well, if you got to do it consciously.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
I'm a bard. Nobody can. No.
All right. So in conclusion, this is also among the things that we talk about in the book. So yeah, go get it. It's going to be in the link down below.
Remember, if you have any questions you want us to discuss and talk about archetypally, put them in the links below. We do read all the chats. Thank you so much.